strategies, processes, and protocols are extremely important, but none of it matters if your company lacks leadership.
There's one word, that's being a victim. If you don't take ownership as a business owner for all these circumstances, then you're being victimized by all the circumstances you're in. You are what you tolerate. Just stop accepting mediocrity.
Real estate business owners that are watching this right now and they think, I need to start doing this. Like, where do they start? Most people think that the word lead in our company's name, Lead Estate, stands for generating leads, which is fair to say because it's a big part of what we do. But the word lead actually stands for something way bigger. It stands for our main core value, which is leadership. And leadership is the most important factor in your entire business. For all companies, the strategies, processes, and protocols are extremely important. But none of it matters if your company lacks leadership. And that doesn't only go for the owner, it goes for the entire team. And for the past 2 years, me and my business partner Maarten have been working with our guest Brent Bakker as our business coach to really focus on improving the leadership within our own company and our team, but also improving and teaching leadership methods to our clients to improve the business and to help them grow and reach their goals. So Brent, thank you for coming. And I'm looking forward to have a great conversation about leadership and enforcing and growing high standards within your company.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Amazing.
First of all.
Yeah, great. So could you first introduce yourself to the people watching? What do you do and how did you get to this point?
Yeah. We had a conversation before because you asked me to introduce me, but I'm really curious, how would you introduce me?
I would introduce you as someone who helps you who helps you not let yourself get away with bullshit. To help you identify the things that you are not seeing because you are constant in action, or you're constantly involved in multiple things in the business that create different thoughts in your head, and you are able to see that from an outside helicopter view and point out the things that you notice where we are deviating from the direction that we want to go in.
Yeah, it's funny because the number one response to what I'm saying from my clients is most of the time, hey, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. I always say I'm a hunter for blind spots because you can't see for yourself what you can't see. And that's my role. But in short, what I do, I coach entrepreneurs worldwide. I always say from 1 million to 1 billion and everything in between. And what I do, I make sure they always will reach for their full potential. And if you're making thousands of 100,000 or millions, in my case, it doesn't matter. Because I always look for the things you still don't do or still don't see, what holds you back to reach your full potential in your life, in your business, in your relationship, in your health, in whatsoever. And if I look to you or to Maarten, to your business partner, and see how much growth the two of you have achieved for the couple of years, I only can be one thing, and it's to be really proud.
Yeah, exactly. And we've gotten a lot of value out of it. So I think the first year we started working together, I think we actually tripled our business in terms of revenue.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest growth that we've achieved in that period is nothing monetary, right? It's how you act and how you show up as a person every single day. And there's a lot of steps that we still need to go, like everyone. But I would say that is the biggest value that we've gotten from you. And I think that's why I wanted to get you on this podcast, because I think there's a lot of real estate companies and business owners that can use this and where it could make a lot of impact on. Let's discuss that today. Could you tell me a little bit and tell the audience a little bit more about your story? I think you have a very interesting story of where you come from and how you got here, basically.
Yeah, it's always really cool to tell the story because for me it's pretty normal, but I know
Yeah.
that it inspires a lot of people. So in 2021, I got into a really bad burnout, and it's funny because if I now look to the term or to the how people see a burnout, it's pretty different than how I see it right now. Because in that period, I was really broken down. And it was one of the last conversations with my psychologist that she asked me, "Hey, Brent, what's your plan?" And to be honest, I didn't have one. And I was really good in feeling really sorry for myself. And therefore, she asked me one question. And the question was, are you aware of the fact that you're getting a daughter in a few weeks? And that changed everything. And maybe the universe helped me a bit, maybe not, but I know one thing for sure. That was the biggest commitment I got into my lap. Because taking care for yourself is not so special. But once you have to take care for someone else, well, in my case, it was my daughter. Yeah, the whole world changes. And your whole mind's changing because there's no room for negotiation anymore.
Yeah.
There's no room for, okay, let's stay in this position. Let's stay, let's feel really sad for myself. That was no option.
Yeah.
So in that time, I met my previous business partner, and I come from really big history of doing sales in different companies on a huge scale. So I know how I had to do that. And together with him, we built one of the biggest sales companies in the Netherlands. And in the second year, I was asked by a few entrepreneurs, "Hey, Brent, how is it possible that you, from a burnout, created $1 million business in less than a year?" And my only answer I have is being committed to the things you have decided. So if you say, well, in my case, if I say, okay, I'm going to change my life for good from this point on, there was no room that I could go back. From that point, I started coaching a few entrepreneurs, and it became more and more and more and more and more, that in 2025, I came in conflict with myself, that I had to sell my shares to my business partner because, coaching everyone on this planet, that became my mission. Because I felt deep inside that the fire was really burning. The fire was really burning, that my mission here on earth is to make sure that everyone I speak to, or everyone I have the chance to speak, that I can speak to, isn't looking anymore to the things he or she already has, but the things she doesn't have or still doesn't want to achieve. But here comes the trigger. It's not only about the things you want to have or the things you need to do, but it's about the person you need to become.
Okay.
And that's the biggest mistake everyone makes, because you can learn a lot of strategies or use AI or whatsoever. But if you are not the person who's in line with all the goals he needs to achieve, then there's a misalignment.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm focusing, and you know the word, focusing on the being of someone. So who do you need to become to achieve the life you want? And that's a completely different person than the person you are right now.
Yeah. So could you explain a little bit more if a real estate business owner would be watching this and think like, oh, my team doesn't do this right, or the market is not perfect at the moment.
Yeah. There's one word. That's being a victim. And I know that some people will listen to this and think, a victim? Why am I a victim?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't take ownership as a business owner for all these circumstances, then it's on the left side, or you take ownership, or you're being victimized by all the circumstances you're in.
Yeah.
And you can blame the marketing, you can blame your salespeople, you can blame your leads, or you can blame your ads or whatsoever, because there's always something you can do to make some small steps towards the bigger goal.
Yeah.
no matter the circumstances.
Exactly. And I think,
But the standard is that you have to take ownership. You have to take full ownership of everything. And if you don't do that, yeah, then you can blame him or he or she or someone else.
yeah,
And yeah, if you blaming someone else, there's one thing you're not doing, it's looking to yourself.
yeah. And I think it's a lot of times, something that I've heard from clients sometimes is, yeah, but it's not my fault. Well, yes, maybe it's not your fault, but it's definitely your responsibility to solve and take care of it. But you could also argue that this has happened because you haven't done the actions that would prevent it in the first place and take full responsibility over that. And that is why you allowed things to happen, because you were for a long time already accepting things that weren't supposed to happen in the first place, that has led to this disaster happening, for example, right?
Yeah, but it's even bigger than that, because what's the number one thing you don't want to ask yourself before you die?
Yes, that's different for everyone, but what do I regret? Or what could have I done better? What haven't I done that I could have done?
Yeah. I could have done this, or I should have done this, or if I had that conversation with, for example, my parents, what I postponed for years, or the conversation with your relationship, or the fight you didn't finish, or whatsoever, or the business you didn't start. I always say you can better have regret of the things you did do than have regret of the things you didn't do.
Yeah.
Because everyone has one life. So why not squeeze the shit out of it?
Yeah.
And putting the responsibility in someone else's lap is just a mirror of you not taking responsibility for yourself. And on a higher level, take a responsibility of the only life you got. And once people see that, taking ownership becomes addictive.
Real estate business owners that are watching this right now, and they think, wow, I've not realized this for a long time. I have to be responsible. I'm responsible for my life, I'm responsible for my business, and I'm responsible for everything that happens within my business to create the life that I want to create. If they see this now and they say, okay, I need to start doing this, like, where do they start?
Where did you start?
By getting really clear on what it is that I want.
Yeah. If, for example, if you go on holiday and you take the plane, if the pilot doesn't have his destination that he will go to, whatever, Bali or Ibiza or whatsoever, then yeah, he's flying in the air until the gasoline is done and the plane crashes. And that's the same in business, but it's also the same in life. So you need to decide first what your point B is. So what's the thing you're heading towards, which is non-negotiable?
Yeah.
Which can be growth of your company or revenue growth or whatsoever. But if you don't know where you're heading towards, then you also don't know which corrections you can make.
Yeah.
So if a pilot is flying on his plane and he gets some turbulence or whatsoever, he needs to make corrections, but he still needs to be in line to the destination where every passenger bought a ticket for, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same in business.
Exactly. And I see this happening a lot, right? Where I ask, it's actually the first question we usually asked during our first consultations with potential clients is, what do you want? And then sometimes they look at us like, what do you mean? Like, well, what do you want to achieve in your life, with your business? What's your goal? And one example was, yeah, I want to do 1.5 million this year. And I knew that they didn't do that yet. So I asked, okay, is it 1.5 or is it 1 million? He's like, yeah, maybe 1 million. I'm like, well, is it 1 million or is it 1.5 million? Because the strategies and the things that you need to do to get there are completely different for 1 million compared to 1.5 million. And what I see a lot of times is that real estate business owners, they set a goal and then look at the budget and the availability that they have to see, like, okay, let's try this and then see if we reach that goal. Instead of saying, this is my goal, let's reverse engineer exactly what I need to do. How many deals, how many appointments is that? What does my closing rate need to be? How many leads do I need to generate for that? How many leads need to convert into appointments? And getting so clear on the exact action steps that you need to do to reach that goal, that's something that they're not doing. They're just, okay, let's try something here and hope it will get us further.
Yeah, and that's the reason why not so many people have real success in life.
Yeah.
Because once you decide your half, well, if it's 1 million or 1.5, then you can decide what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So in success, you have 3 pillars. You need to decide the half. Then you need to decide, okay, what's the thing I need to do for it? But the third one is, who's the person I need to become to make sure I will achieve everything until I can put a mark on the half I've decided. Yeah. But what a lot of people do is, when things get hard or things get tough, they're not going to change their doing or their being. They're going to change the half because then it will become easier.
Yeah, they're changing their goal. They're changing
their goals, but that's the stupidest thing you can do.
Yeah.
The thing I see the most with a lot of entrepreneurs is that the push-ups they need to do when it gets hard, they're going to do less push-ups.
Yeah.
But everyone who created a lot of success in life are the ones who did the most push-ups.
Yeah.
For example, this world and this country is built up by people making their hands dirty, no matter the circumstance. My grandmother was in World War II. She was captured by the Japanese. She's from Indonesia, so
Yeah.
she was captured by the Japanese. And my grandfather, he was a general in the Dutch army. Well, everyone knows the history, what happened there.
Yeah.
That's far from funny. But they had no room for complaining or whatsoever. They just had to surrender and hoping for better times.
Yeah.
And what I see now, especially in this new generation, you have the ones who are willing to do whatever it takes to create success, and the ones who are like, okay, I'm satisfied with what I have and that's it. Yeah. And those are the people, what I always say, they die when they become 30 and they get buried when they're 80, and everything in between is just numb. And that's the thing where you can make a difference, especially with lead estate, because I know that you're not only giving really good leads and make sure the revenue increases, but also that you can have a huge impact on the being of all those real estate agencies.
Yeah. And now we actually build the systems behind that as well. Because I think that's a big thing that we do now, is when we build out software, custom software or AI implementations, AI infrastructure. Well, there's a lot of people doing that right now. You know, since we've been getting more into it, I scroll Instagram and I see AI video after AI video, and it all looks cool, but it's the way that you implement it as well. So what we really do is, because of the experience that we have in client acquisition from lead to deal and tracking all that data, we implement this software and we implement these AI tools and agents and services with profit and conversion in the back of your mind, and how to actually integrate it. So for example, we're now developing a complete custom sales dashboard, because one of the biggest issues in real estate agencies mainly is that they don't really have their data clear, right? Or agents that don't follow up with people or update the CRM system. Well, anyone can build a sales dashboard, but if they don't use it, then you don't solve a problem. Right? You don't solve a problem by building software. You solve a problem by actually implementing it. So there's specific protocols that need to be in place that the whole team has to honor for the sales dashboard to actually represent clear data where the company can base decisions off. So this is what I meant earlier with you can have the tools, you can have the processes, but there needs to be a protocol in place. And that's what we can talk about. The leadership needs to be in place to actually make sure that the entire team honors this protocol. Otherwise, it will never work. So imagine we've created a sales dashboard for a real estate agency, for example, and their team is not using it. The team is not updating the CRM system. The data is not clear. What would you say to the business owner of that real estate agency?
Fire them all. No. Everyone is working from expectations. So I expect you to do X, Y, Z. I expect you to do or to use the system. I expect you to update the CRM. But in the end, it's all about agreement. If everyone agrees on the same thing, and that's non-negotiable, then a situation like that wouldn't happen. For example, did you do martial arts when you were a kid?
Never.
Okay. So I did a lot of martial arts. And I started judo when I was 6 or 7, not sure yet. And first thing, when you step into the dojo, the sensei teach you, okay, we have a few rules here. So you need to do your nails. You need to iron your judo, what's it called? A gi. You need to have respect for one another. You need to bow first. You don't use it on the streets unless it's necessary. And that's a set of rules which need to be followed. If you didn't follow, move.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's becoming a mess. If you, for example, go to the airport, yeah, does the plane wait for you if you're late?
No.
No. Why?
Because it has other passengers on board.
Okay. And what's another reason?
Because it has to reach a certain destination in a certain period of time.
Yeah. Otherwise, the whole flight schedule will be fucked up.
Yeah.
And if that isn't an agreement, and for example, Schiphol Airport has the expectation, Koen will be here in 10 minutes, and Brent will be here in 20, and whatever who will be there 30 minutes. Let's wait for everyone. It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's simply not possible. So you have to adjust to the agreement from the flight schedule, which is normal, right? And everyone accepts that. What's the reason that a lot of companies has the problem that they're, oh, no, I expect this and I expect that, and everything goes to shit?
Well, they're accepting it.
Exactly. So the leader of the company is accepting that his team doesn't do the CRM or use the system or whatsoever.
Yeah.
So there are no standards. There is no baseline.
Yeah.
And so you can have like whatever strategy or whatever system, but once there are no agreements, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And I hear a lot from real estate agencies, for example, is like, yeah, but they are freelancers. I can't tell them what to do because, well, you can't tell freelancers what to do. Another one that I hear, there are not many people that I can find. So if they leave, it's very difficult to get good ones back.
Sorry for interrupting, but this is funny. So if someone says, yeah, there's no one I can find, or it's hard to find, that's the counter of I didn't search hard enough.
Yeah.
And if he says, okay, I can't find people, it's just an excuse to stop searching.
I think this is, I don't know if it's Alex Hormozy that once said this, at least a business coach. Or a business sales coach, he went to a company and there were 10 salespeople there. And 2 of them were great, amazing performance. And the other 8 would always, change, because they were not quality. And then he said, yeah, but I can't find good people. But he did find those 2. And that's kind of what the feedback was that you just gave. If you've already found those 2, you just need to work harder and put more effort.
You can find 1,000.
Exactly.
Yeah. But there's another thing, which is if people start saying, yeah, it's hard or it's tough or it takes so much time, the deeper layer is that they don't trust themselves. They don't trust themselves that they are able to find that person or reach that revenue or sell that deal or whatever. Because if a sales agent comes back and tells you, hey, yeah, sorry, didn't close the deal because XYZ, he will find an excuse that it was too hard or they didn't want to listen. No, you asked the wrong questions. Because if there is budget, if there are leads, what's the thing you need more? Nothing, right?
Yeah. So what do you mean with asking the right questions? And why does that make a difference?
Okay. Why is it important to ask questions?
So that people can understand the problem they're facing themselves.
Yeah. Did you see what I was doing here?
Exactly. I didn't want to call it out, but
yeah. So the one who's asking questions is the one who is in control.
Yeah.
And the biggest mistake in sales, or one of the biggest mistakes, is that the one who needs to sell is the one who's talking the most. Because if you ask questions, then you're in control of all the things you need to know to sell the property, right?
Mm-hmm.
So asking the right questions is just asking enough questions until you have enough information to close the deal.
Yeah, basically.
But the mistake people or a lot of people are making is that they stop asking questions.
Yeah, they're hungry for the deal.
Yeah.
So they really want to like, oh yeah, this is an amazing place and you can do this and there,
Yeah,
and
so
let's go to school. And
they didn't make enough impact.
yeah,
Money follows impact. If you make enough impact, then someone will buy.
exactly. So to go back to the situation where, you know, the team is not updating the CRM and, you know, the owner is clearly not taking accountability for that, right? So what would the owner of the real estate business need to change? What does the owner need to do to make sure that his team is fully aligned and updates the CRM and make sure that all the data is inside and make sure that they do the things that they're supposed to be doing?
The first thing I want to know is what's the reason they're working in this company.
That's a good one.
Because if they're working there just for the money, which isn't a bad thing, but that could be a reason that they're not willing to do more. But if someone is on your mission with you, then they're also willing to do the things what are probably less fun to do.
Yeah, exactly. This is something that we talk about a lot actually, is you want to make sure that you align all of your sales agents with the company goals, but also that that's aligned with the goals that they have for themselves. So maybe this agent wants to do 100K in commissions this year. The other one wants to do 200K in commissions this year. Well, you align their personal goals eventually with the company goals. And that's something that I just don't see happening. I see that real estate agencies just hire as much agents as they possibly can and then say, okay, go for it and go and make me some deals.
Yeah, I always make the comparison with a SWAT team. In a SWAT team, you have 5 or 6 people. And when they have to enter a house to capture someone or whatsoever, then there's no one who can lack focus or whatever, because yeah, it's a matter of life or death, right?
No.
What if a business would implement the same theory? That it's a matter of life or death that they're using the CRM and the system and the whatsoever. Then the business owner wouldn't be in that situation.
Yeah.
So what I see, if this is happening, that there's a layer of trust missing within the company.
Yeah, exactly.
The company owner doesn't trust his people, and the people don't trust the mission or whatsoever. Because if they were fully aligned, this wasn't happening.
Yeah, and there's basically no clarity within the company. And something that I would always say when a business owner in real estate would say to me, yeah, but they're freelancers, I can't tell them what to do. I always say, well, you can enforce certain standards that you have for your company and for contractors that you hire within your company. Maybe you can't tell them exactly what to say or what to do because according to the law, for example, but you can have certain standards for yourself. And if people that you hire or freelancers that you hire in your company are not honoring those standards, you let them go. If you need to fix your roof and you have certain standards of how you want your roof to be like, and the roofing company doesn't do it like that, you're going to hire someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Works the same here.
You can also compare it to a relationship. I always say love has no rules. Within love, there are no boundaries because you have to love to the fullest, or you need to give every love you have inside towards your partner and or your parents or whatsoever, your dog, your cat. But a relationship has rules. And what most of the time happens that people start a relationship because, oh, I'm in love and blah, 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 blah. And once they're a few months ahead, they find out, I'm thinking a bit different about this than what my partner does. And it also happens a lot of times that will become a conflict, right?
Yeah.
But if you decide first, hey, this is where I stand for in life and this is where I stand for in life, and is this a thing we want to bundle or is this a thing we are accepting from each other or whatever, then you have a set of rules where you can move into the relationship. But that's the same for business. If the business owner or the one working in the company are not aligned with the set of rules of the company, then the situation you were explaining is happening.
Exactly. And if we touch on the points that we already discussed is, well, you start always with your point B, you as the business owner.
Yeah.
So imagine that's making 2 million a year in commissions as if you're a real estate agency. Then all the systems, all the protocols and all the processes need to be aligned with that 2 million. But that also goes for the people in your company. So you can hire a bunch of agents. Let's say you hire 20 agents and they all you all say, okay, go make me deals because I want to make 2 million in commissions this year. Nothing's going to happen. Everyone's going to run out on their own and try to make some deals. Maybe some of them are lazy. Some of them don't update the CRM. Some of them do. Then you have people in your company and you put energy towards people that are not aligned with the company goals. But also, and I think this is a very important one, you as the company are not providing them with the right vision. You're not providing them with the right tools and structure and guidance for them to reach their goals. And that's where usually a misalignment is that the agents are working for themselves and not necessarily for the company, while the company has different goals. And that's kind of where you touched on.
Yeah, but you can build $1 million company with 10 euro or $10 people.
You can.
You can't. Because then there's a misalignment. So
Yeah.
the company owner needs to decide first, okay, what's the type of person I need to have?
Yeah.
What is the standards they need to have? Are they willing to match my standards, yes or no? Then they can go. But if from the start there's a misalignment, then you come again in the situation you're explaining.
Yeah. I think the worst thing that I've heard is I was talking to a real estate agency that were connected to a well-known brand, but they were just starting out. It's more like a franchise, right? They've hired, it was in Portugal, and they've hired 20 people. I think the owner was Ukrainian or something. And they said, yeah, we want to focus on international people, basically. Oh no, they said we want to focus on the local market because in the big city, it was more focused on the local market. And they hired 20 agents. And yeah, it takes so much time because training all these 20 agents and they all haven't closed a deal yet. We've only closed like a few deals this year. Only to find out that basically none of the 20 agents spoke Portuguese. They spoke Ukrainian and English. And it was literally an excuse from the owner. Yeah, but we can't because they don't speak Portuguese. Well, why did you hire them? Right? It's just, I would say, the biggest form of misalignment with your company goals that you can have, right? And maybe this is an extreme example, but it happens on a small scale as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So when you look at those things, right?
Mhm.
Imagine all the protocols are in place to reach X goal, right? You have your team is structured the right way, and they are executing on the things that that you've basically told them to do, right? A big thing that we do at Lead Estate is making sure that we can track every single data point of what your agents do and what's happening within the entire company. So I'm wondering, like, can you even take ownership over things, and can you even execute on the highest form of leadership within your company if you don't track all the data or if things are vague?
The answer is yes and no.
Interesting.
Yeah, because if you look into the data and you see that someone is not performing, you can make corrections, right?
Yeah.
But if the owner doesn't have the guts or the ownership to do something with it,
Yeah.
then the data doesn't make sense. You can also work without data. But then again, the company owner needs to have ownership over his team. Otherwise, he buys off his ownership with implementing a system. Oh, we have a system, and now I can track everything, and now everything will be fine.
Exactly.
But I have a really big sales agency for years, and we tracked everything. But the most of my time went to coaching the people, getting them in line, make sure they say what they do, make sure that they really, really think really good, okay, what's the commitment I'm giving for this week or whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I believe it's a really, really good add-on to the business. And I really would recommend everyone to implement the system because, yeah, if there's no tracking, you don't know what corrections you can make. But it's not or team leadership or systems, it's end-end.
It's the combination of it. And
Yeah.
that's what we discussed.
So it strengthens each other.
Yeah, definitely. Because, like I said, tracking all the data is a form of implementing high standards in your business, right? If you don't track any data, then you're basically accepting that things are unclear.
Yeah.
But imagine you have all the data in place, right? Then you, as the business owners, should make decisions based on that data to actually make sure that you act on that data. It's the same. I can give you an example with advertising on Meta, right? If you advertise on Meta and you want to sell your properties, you want to sell your project, and you start advertising and you get hundreds of leads, right? That Facebook has all that data. You have a €5 cost per lead. You get 500 leads this month for €3,000 that you've spent. And people would say, oh yeah, we're getting leads, etc. And eventually they're not converting. Because basically if you get 500 leads for €3,000 ad spend, then you have a lot of low quality leads. But you have that data. It's not performing. We're not getting any deals from it. Not selling any appointments. The team is demotivated because they have to call a lot of leads. But you still keep spending. Well, you have all this data, but Meta keeps spending. Because Meta thinks, okay, well, everything is going well. You know, you're getting leads. Oh, he's not telling me to change anything, so let's keep them coming. This is the right quality. While what you should actually do is say, hey, we've seen the leads. This 60% is not quality. We can see that people that have filled in these answers to these questions are not quality. Let's filter them out and make sure that the pixel only captures people that are of quality. So then it starts optimizing on the people in that category that are high quality. Then the cost per lead increases, the quality increases, and it performs better. But if you don't change anything, everything just keeps going like it's going. And the same goes for if you implement a certain tracking system in your business. Yeah, you can track all the data. You can see that leads are not being followed up with.
Mhm.
And you can say, hey, yeah, you should follow up. You should follow up. You should follow up. But what if they haven't followed up for 10 times in a row? What do you have to do? You have to let them go. So what I see happening is, yes, businesses can really, really use a custom sales tracker, for example. But if they don't act on it and act on decisions that they need to make, or are scared of what the data will actually show them, well, that is where the biggest problem is, and not that they're not tracking any data.
Yeah, and it's also good to realize that you need to be really ruthless on your decisions.
Yeah.
I was watching Owning Manhattan.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I don't know if it was scripted or whatsoever. Probably a bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I
think.
But Ryan Serhant had a broker, and he was also his friend.
Mm-hmm.
But the one who gave the project to Ryan told him, hey, listen, he's not selling, so he needs to move.
Otherwise, we won't work with you.
Otherwise, we won't work with you anymore. And this was about 300 million or whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, then it's about what you're going to do. Are you willing to put the relationship on the line for your business? Yes or no? And yeah, to be honest, if it's about 300 million and your friend didn't do what he said he would do, and then there's nothing wrong to make a ruthless decision. Otherwise, you will get cut on a project of 300 million.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I see people are afraid to make those decisions, but sometimes it happens on a much...
Yeah, and the reason why is that they're thinking, or the mistake they're making is, then I'm not friendly anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a difference between pleasing someone to give them a good feeling and do whatever you need to do and still be friendly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you can still be respectful and friendly and make the decisions what's the best for the result of the company.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's what I see is about wanting to keep everyone happy all the time. So what we had in a client of ours, a real estate agency in Dubai, is that we would set up marketing campaigns for them, we would generate leads, and we would set appointments for them. And what they would do is they would say, yes, we are dividing all of the opportunities, all of the leads over 8 agents. I don't know how much it was exactly, but let's say it was 8 agents. But there were no deals because one of the agents did follow up, the other one didn't follow up. The other one was doing the appointments and went well, but it didn't close the deal. But the biggest reason why it didn't work was because there was chaos, and they would divide all the leads equally over every agent instead of giving the highest performing agent who did the most for the company the free leads. And once we made that switch and only focused on 2 agents, I believe, they closed their first deal like a few weeks later. And what you don't want to do is keep pleasing everyone. Yeah, I need to keep them with my company, so I need to distribute the leads equally. Well, no, you reward the people that honor the commitments and honor the agreements that you've made with each other. They deserve to get the leads.
Yeah, but there's another thing, which is it's also in their best interest that the company owner is ruthless on their behavior and ruthless on the result.
Yeah.
Because their life will improve as well. Because the more properties they sell, the more commission they make. The more commission they make, the more their life improves. And in the end, everyone's happy.
Yeah.
But you need to grow through the mud to make sure that everyone understands that. Mm-hmm. And if there are no high standards regarding how they should follow up a lead or whatsoever, and the company owner let them get away if they don't match up with those standards, that's where it goes wrong.
Exactly. So you can make it work. I always say you can make it work with multiple agents, but then you have to keep them fully accountable. The agreements need to be clear. And if someone doesn't honor those agreements, you have to take the leads away or do something, right? So yes, it can work, but usually dividing leads over multiple agents doesn't work, because usually there's something missing in the organization, which usually can be attributed to the leadership and ownership of either the manager and further the owner, right? So where are you accepting things in your company still? Because it's costing you money. You're investing the advertising budget. You run the risk of your whole savings going down the drain if your company doesn't work out. But still, you are accepting certain things within your company. And that, to me, sometimes is actually pretty crazy. And I think that's something that you really do well. That's something that you make people realize.
I to drop one more big lesson is you are what you tolerate.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah. So if you tolerate that those things may happen within your company, then it's also that you're tolerating it from yourself.
Yeah.
And then to be honest, you have no right to complain.
Yeah.
So if everyone who's listening to this just sit with yourself for 30 minutes and ask yourself the question, what's the standard I'm tolerating right now? What doesn't move the needle anymore in my company?
Yeah.
And then you know what the points are where you need to make corrections on.
Yeah. And sometimes what I say to clients as well is, where are you postponing a decision that you need to make?
Yeah.
And for how long have you been postponing it?
Yeah.
Where do you need to make decisions within your company that you're not making right now? And I think only those two questions, if you really sit down for 30 minutes or an hour without being distracted and really reflect on that, I think a lot of things will come up and be clear. And I think that's the biggest lesson that people could get from this podcast and this conversation is, in a way, they could ask themselves the right questions, but it's scary to ask yourself those questions.
Yeah, and just stop accepting mediocrity.
Yeah.
Just stop accepting mediocrity.
Yeah. And I think to end off with a great example, when I was visiting a real estate agency, I was again in Porto in Portugal. I asked the question, are all of your agents following up with leads perfectly? And he said, well, of course not, right? And I looked at him and I said, well, what do you mean, of course not? Well, yeah, of course they're not all following up with leads, and of course they're not doing it perfectly and consistently. And I looked at him and I'm like, this is the standard that you are tolerating within your business.
There you go.
And that's when he realized, okay, wow, I'm accepting this within my business. Therefore, it keeps happening. But I think a really important catch is that you have to be or live according to full integrity as well as the owner. Because if you don't do it yourself, they won't listen.
Yeah, and your employees just look to you. And if you present them the mirror of low standards, then that's what's happening in your company.
Yeah. So if there's one last thing that you could say or you would give as an advice to business owners in real estate, whether they're agencies, developers, when you have a big team, small team, doesn't matter. What's the number one practical thing that you could give them before ending this podcast?
Yeah.
That they can implement right now that will have a big impact on their business.
Yeah. Make sure that everyone in your business has the same level of commitment. Otherwise, your commitment level will be higher than theirs. And if they remember the thing what I explained about the SWAT team, everyone has their responsibility. And that level of responsibility is the same. And if one person in your company has a lower level of responsibility and you accept that, then that's the standard of your company. And if you put time every week to search for what's happening, what lowers the standards, where there's lower commitment and whatsoever, that's where the company will grow as well. But you need to actively search for it.
Yeah. That's a good one. I think that's a good way to end the podcast. I think we could talk about this for 2 or 3 hours more.
Yeah.
And there would be a lot of value in there. But maybe for a future part 2.
Maybe another time. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for coming on the podcast.
You're welcome.